Good evening. We've got a very happy cat with us today. There we are. And yes, I shall be doing the reading as ever. He seems to have just melted where he sits. How is everybody today? Get myself some water. Cat break right off the bat indeed. He spent a good portion of the day as ever in my room. And I'm fairly sure the more I speak, the more normal I will begin to sound. I do apologize that we're a touch late, but life happens. We shall be continuing with the H.P. Lovecraft from last time. You got there, right? What did you get? Something dry. Don't worry, it's just more there's something in the back of my throat. All is well, and I thank you for your concern. Let's pop you down and get right into it. 1 moment, though. I wouldn't want to clear my throat in your ear. Yes, I know I wasn't touching you for half of a second. He's terribly needy.
Thanks for subscribing, Shidorketh. You rock. That might be painful.
Many thanks, my dear. And thank you. Yes. Darn. I wasn't careful when I put this away. Damaged the top of the page. Happy cat. Anyway. If heaven ever wishes to grant me a boon, it will be a total effacing of the result of a mere chance which fixed my eye on a certain stray piece of shelf paper. It was nothing on which I would would naturally have stumbled in the course of my daily round, for it was an old number, an Australian journal, the Sydney Bulletin for April 18th, 1925. It had escaped even the cutting bureau, which had, at the time of its issuance, been avidly collecting material for my uncle's research. I had largely given out my inquiries into the Professor Argyle, called the Cthulhu cult, and was visiting the learned friends in Paterson, New Jersey. Oh, sorry. The corrupter of a local museum. Corrupt. Curator, my apologies. Done. Already? My word. Curator of the local museum and the mineralogist. Mineralogist? Mineralogist. Of note, examining one day the river. Come on, dude. The reserve specimen roughly set on the storage shelves in a near room of the museum. My eye was caught with an odd picture in one of the old papers spread beneath the stones. It was the Sydney Bulletin I have mentioned. For my friend was wide. Could you stop with the knocking things over, please? I know you want to be happy. I know what you want attention. It's okay. Why don't you do this when the camera's not on? You just know, don't you? I do apologize. He's not normally like this, as you all know. For my friend has wide affiliations in all conceivable foreign parts, and the picture was a half-tone cut of a hideous stone image almost identical. Stone image almost identical with that which Lagresse had found in the swamp. Eagerly clearing the sheet of its precious contents, I scanned the item in detail, and was disappointed to find it of only moderate length. What it suggested, however, was a pretentious significance to my flagging quest, and I carefully tore it out for immediate action. I read as follows: Mystery derelict found at sea. Vigilant arrivals with helpless armed New Zealand yacht in tow. One survivor and dead men found aboard. Tale of desperate battle and death at sea. Rescued seamen refuse particulars of strange experience. Odd idol found in his possession. Inquiry in full. To follow. My apologies. Man, I am struggling. This is English. I was born in it. I read English. Struggle with it. Anyway, the Morrison Company's freighter, Vigilant, bound from Valparaiso, arrived this morning at its wharf in Darling Harbour, having in tow the battered and disabled but heavily armed steam yacht Alert, of Dunedin, New Zealand, which was sighted April 12th in south latitude 34 degrees 21 minutes west, longitude 152 degrees 17 minutes, with one living and one dead man aboard. The Vigilant left Valparaiso March 25th, and on April 2nd was driven. Terribly sorry. I ruined that page. It must have knocked something in the night. Terribly sorry. It was driven considerably south of her course by exceptionally heavy storms and monster waves. On April 12th, the derelict was sighted, and though apparently deserted, was found upon boarding to contain one survivor, in a half-delirious condition, and one man who had evidently been dead for more than a week. The living man was clutching a horrible stone idol of unknown origin, about a foot in height, regarding whose nature authorities at Sydney University, the Royal Society, and the museum in College Street all profess complete bafflement. Bafflement. And which the survivor says he found in the cabin of the yacht, in the small carved shrine of common pattern. This man, after recovering his sense, told an exceedingly strange story of piracy and slaughter. He is Gustav Johnson, a Norwegian of some intelligence, and had been second mate of the two-masted schooner Emma of Ackland, which sailed for Calais, February 20th, with a complement of 11 men. The Emma, he says, was delayed and thrown widely south of her course by the great storm of March 1st, and on March 22nd, in south latitude 49, 51 minutes, west longitude 128th degree, 34 minutes. I will point out I'm adding the word minutes, but that's due to the fact that I understand how coordinates and measurement work for ships. I'm amazed they're not there already. Encountered the Alert, manned by a queer and evil-looking crew of Cancus and half-castes, being ordered prematurely to turn back prematurely. Captain Collins refused, whereupon the strange crew began to fire savagely and without warning upon the schooner, with a peculiarly heavy battery of brass cannon forming part of the yacht's equipment. The Emma's men shooed fight. Interesting, says the survivor. And though the schooner began to sink from the shots beneath the waterline, they managed to heave alongside their enemy and board her, grappling with the savage crew on the yacht's deck, and being forced to kill them all, the number being slightly superior because of their particularly abhorrent and desperate, though rather clumsy mode of fighting. 3 of the Emma's men, including Captain Collins and First Mate Green, were killed, and the remaining 8 under Second Mate Johansen, proceeded to navigate the captured yacht, going ahead to their original direction, to see if any reason for their ordering back had existed. The next day, it appears, they raised and landed on a small island, although no one is known to exist in that part of the ocean, and 6 of the men somehow died ashore, though Johansen is queerly reticent about this part of the story, and speaks only of their falling into a rock chasm. Later it seems he had been companion boarded the yacht and tried to manage her, but were beaten about by the storm on April 2nd. From that time till his rescue, on the 12th, the man remembers little, and he does not even recall when William Bryden, his companion, died. Bryden's death reveals no apparent cause, and was probably due to excitement or exposure. How does excitement kill? Cable advisors from Dundin report that the alert was well known there as an island trader and bore an evil reputation along the waterfront. It was owned by the curious group of half-castes whose frequent meetings and night trips to the woods attracted no little curiosity. And it had set sail in great haste just after the storm and earth tremors of March 1st. Our Ackland correspondent gives the Emma and her crew the excellent reputation, and Johansen is described as a sober and worthy man. The Admiralty will institute an inquiry on the whole matter beginning tomorrow, at which every effort will be made to include Johansen to speak more freely than he has done hitherto. Man, excitement is a mania. That is very fair, good point. I completely forgot that. This was all, together with the picture of the hellish image, but what a train of ideas it started in my mind. Here were the treasuries of data on the Cthulhu cult, and evidence that it had strange interests at sea as well as on land. What motive prompted the hybrid crew to order back the Emma as they sailed about with their hideous idol? What was the unknown island on which 6 of the Emma's crew had died, and about which the mate Johansen was so secretive? What had the Vice Admiralty's investigation brought out? And what was known of the noxious cult in Dundin? And most marvellous of all, what deep and more natural linkage of data was that this which gave Milgan and now undeniable significance to the various turns of the events so carefully noted by my uncle. March 1st, or February 28th, according to the international dateline. The earthquake and storm had come. From Dundin, the alert and the noisome crew had darted eagerly forth, as if imperiously summoned. And on the other side of the earth, poets and artists had begun to dream of a strange, dank, cyclopean city, whilst a young sculptor had moulded in his sleep the form of the dreaded Cthulhu. March 23rd, the crew of the Emma landed on an unknown island and left 6 men dead. And on that date the dreams of the sensitive men assumed a heightened vividness and darkened with dread of a giant monster's malignant presence, whilst the architect had gone mad and a sculptor had lapsed suddenly into delirium. And what of the storm of April 2nd? The date on which all dreams of the dank city ceased, and Wilcox emerged unharmed from the bondage of strange fever. What of all this, and of those hints of the Costro about the sunken, star-born old ones and their coming reign, their faithful cult and their master of dreams? Was I tottering on the brink of cosmic horrors beyond man's powers to bear? If so, they must be horrors of the mind alone, for in some way the 2nd of April had put a stop to whatever monstrous menace had begun its siege on mankind's soul. That evening, after the day of hurried cabling, arranging, I bade my host adieu and took a train for San Francisco in less than a month. I was in Dunedin, where, however, I found little was known of the strange cult members who had lingered in the old sea taverns. Waterfront scum was far too common for special mention, though there was vague talk about one inland trip those mongrels had made, during which faint drumming and red flames were noted on the distant hills of Auckland. I learned that Johansen had returned with yellow hair turned white after a perfunctory and inclusive questioning at Sydney, and had thereafter sold his cottage in West Street and sailed with his wife to his old home in Oslo. Of his stirring experience he would tell his friends no more than he had told the Admiralty officials, and all they could do was give me his Oslo address. After that I went to Sydney and talked profitlessly with seamen and members of the Vice Admiralty Court. I was the Alert, now sold and in commercial use. I saw the Alert, at Circular Quarry in Sydney Cove, but gained nothing from its non-committal bulk. The crouching image with the cuttlefish head, dragon body, scaly wings, and high, hieroglyphified pedestal was preserved in the museum at Hyde Park, and I studied it long and well, finding it a thing of balefully exquisite workmanship, and with the same utter mystery, terribly antiquity, and unearthly strangeness of material, which I had noted in Laglaise's smaller specimen. Geologists, the curator told me, had found it a monstrous puzzle, for they vowed that the world held no rock like that. Then I thought with a shudder of what old Castro had told Lagresse about the primordial great ones. They had come from the stars and had brought their images with them. Shaken with such a mental revelations as I had never been known, I now resolved to visit mate John Johansen in Oslo. Sailing for London, I re-embarked at once for the Norwegian capital, and one autumn day landed at Trimherves, in the shadow of the... Good Lord. I mean, I'm fairly sure it does, yes. He's not exactly PC. But at the same point, It's written. Everyone can read it. And I believe that things like that should be read. I mean, I'll obviously censor very specific things, but I don't particularly wish to. I lost where I was, I think. She had a mental revelation. There. Shadows of the Egbert Johansson's address, I discovered, lay in the old town of King Harold Hardrada, which kept alive the name of Oslo during all the centuries that the greater city masqueraded as Christian. I made the brief trip by taxicab and knocked with palpitant heart at the door of the neat and ancient building, with plastered front. A sad-faced woman in black answered my summons, and I was strung with disappointment. Stung. When she told me in haltering English that Gustav Johansson was no more. He had not survived his return, said his wife, for the doings at sea in 1925 had broken him. He had told her no more than he had told the public, but had left a long manuscript of technical matters, as he said, written in English, evidently in order to safeguard her from the peril of casual perusal. During a walk through a narrow lane of Gothenburg dock, a bundle of papers falling from an attic window had knocked him down. Two Lescar sailors at once helped him to his feet, but before the ambulance could reach him, he was dead. Physicians found no adequate cause for the end, and laid it to heart trouble and a weakened constitution. I now felt gnawing at my vitals that dark terror which will never leave me till I, too, am at rest. Accidentally or otherwise. Preceding the window that my connection with her husband's technical matters was sufficient to entitle me to his manuscript. I bore the document away and began to read it on the London boat. It was simple rambling through a naive sailor's effort at a post facto diary, and strove to recall day by day that last awful voyage. I cannot attempt to transcribe it verbatim in all its cloudiness and redundancy, but I will tell its gist, enough to show why the sound of the water against the vessel's sides became so unendurable, interesting, to me, that I stopped my ears with cotton. So I'm enjoying reading this, but I am not enjoying how it's written. I massively prefer the older style of writing. Johansson, thank God, did not know quite all, even though he saw the city and one thing, but I shall never sleep calmly again when I think of the horrors that lurk carelessly behind life, in time and in space, and of those unhallowed blasphemous from elder stars which dream beneath the sea, known and favored by a nightmare cult ready and eager to loose them on the world whenever another earthquake shall heave their monstrous stone city again to the sun and air. Johansen's voyage had begun just as he told it to the Vice-Admiralty. The Emma in Ballast had cleared Auckland on February 20th, and had felt the full force of the earthquake-born tempest which must have heaved up from the sea bottom the horrors that filled men's dreams once more under control. The ship was making good progress when held up by the Alert on March 22nd. And I could feel the mate's regret as he wrote of the bombardment and sinking of the swarthy cult fiends. Of the Alert he spoke with significant horror. There was some peculiarly abominable quality about them which made their destruction seem almost a duty, and Johansen shews ingenious wonder at the charge of the ruthlessness brought against his party during the proceedings of the court of inquiry. Then, driven ahead by curiosity in their captured yacht under Johansen's command, the men sighted a great stone pillar sticking out of the sea, and in south latitude 47 degrees 9 minutes, west longitude 126 degrees 43 minutes, came upon a coastline of mingled mud, ooze, and weedy cyclopane masonry, which can be nothing less than a tangible substance of the earth's supreme terror, the nightmare corpse city of Raleigh, that was built in merciless eons beyond history by the vast, loathsome shapes that seeped down from the dark stars. There lay great Cthulhu and his hordes, hidden in the green slimy vaults, and sending out, at least, after cycles incalculable. That's not a word. Incalculable. I do not like that one. The thoughts that spread fear to the dreams of the sensitive and called imperiously to the faithful to come on a pilgrimage of liberation and restoration. All this Johansen did not suspect, but God knows he soon saw enough. I suppose that only a single mountain top, the hideous monolith-crowned citadel wherein great Cthulhu was buried, actually emerged from the waters. When I think of that extent of all that may be brooding down there, I almost wish to kill myself forthwith. Johansen and his men were awed by the cosmic majesty of this dripping Babylon of elder demons, and must have guessed without guidance that it was nothing of this, or of any sane planet, or at the unbelievable size of the greenish stone blocks, at the dizzying bright height of the great carven monolith, and at the stupefying identity of the colossal statues and bas reliefs, with the queer image found in the shrine on the alert is poignantly? No, I'm not sure on that one. Visible in every line. I want to say poignantly. I'm going with that. Every line of the mate's frightened description. Without knowing that futurism is like, Johansen achieved something very close to it when he spoke of the city, for instead of describing any defining structure or building, he dwells only on broad impressions of vast angles and stone surfaces too great to belong to any thing right or proper for this earth, and imperious with horrible images and hieroglyphics. I mention this talk about angles because it suggests something Wilcox had told me of his awful dreams. He had said that the geometry of the dream place he saw was abnormal, non-Euclidean, and loathsomely redolent of spheres and dimensions apart from ours. Now, an unlettered unlettered seaman felt the same thing, whilst gazing at the terrible reality. Johansen and his men landed at a sloping mud bank of the monstrous Acropolis. Donna Clayton. 1 second, I've lost it. Yes. I'm not seeing that last one, though. Oh, you mean that one? Acropolis. Yes. It's bizarre the things you struggle with. The things I struggle with, let's be honest. I still try, though. I do appreciate that you're actually putting in the correct song. Not the correct song, the correct one. Where was it there? And clambering slipperily up over Titan oozing blocks, which could have been no mortal staircase. The very sun of heaven seemed distorted when viewed through the paralyzing miasma, welling out from the sea-soaked pervasion. The twisted menace of suspense lurked leering in the crazily elusive angles of carved rock, where a second glance shewed concavity after the first shewed convexity. Love. We are still on the H.P. Lovecraft, and I see the cat wants to be out, so I will be just a moment. The yes, we are reading H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu. I'm struggling immensely. I still do apologize that I struggle so much with this. I find it considerably easier to read older texts, which is genuinely confusing me. Like, you give me Shakespeare and I'll read that a considerable amount easier than I'll read this. And with how this is going, I'm probably only going to do the one chapter of this tonight and swap to something different. Because I am just annoying myself with it. I would agree there. I do thoroughly enjoy Lord of the Rings. I've never actually read it, though. I do intend to. And I'm fairly sure that if I did read that, my fiancée would be in heaven. Something very like fright had come over all the explorers before anything more definite than rock and ooze and weed was seen. Each would have fled had he not feared the scorn of the others, and it was only half-heartedly that they searched, vainly as it proved, for some portable souvenir to bear away. It was Rodriguez, the Portuguese, who climbed up the foot of the monolith and shouted of what he found. The rest followed him, and looked curiously at the immense carved door with the now familiar squid dragon bas relief. It was, Johansen said, like a great barn door, and they all felt that it was a door because of the ornate lintel threshold and jambs around it, though they could not decide whether it lay flat like a trapdoor or slantwise like an outside cellar door. As Wilcox would have said, the geometry of the place was all wrong. One could not be sure that the sea was the ground, sea and ground were horizontal. Hence the relative position of everything else seemed phantasmally variable. It's nice, very interesting. I have been told. Bryden pushed at the stone in several places without result. Then Donovan felt over it, delicately around the edge, pressing each point separately. As he went, he climbed interminably. Interminably, maybe. Along the grotesque stone moulding, that is, one would call it climbing, if the thing was not, after all, horizontal. And the men wondered how any door of this universe could be so vast. Then, very softly and slowly, the arc The acre grate, panel began to give inwards at the top, and they saw that it was balanced. Donovan slid and somehow propelled itself down or along the jam and rejoined his fellows, and everyone watched the queer recession. That is recession, but that doesn't look right for recession. Of the monstrously carven portal in the fantasy of prismatic. Good God. Of prismatic distortion. It moved enormously in a diagonal way, so that all the rules of matter and perspective seemed upset. The aperture was black, with the darkness almost material. The tenebrousness was indeed a positive quality, for it obscured such parts of the inner wall as ought to have been revealed, and actually burst forth like smoke from its eon-long imprisonment, visibly darkening the sun as it slunk away into the shrunken and gibbous sky of flapping membranous wings. The odor arising from the newly opened depths was intolerable, and at length the quick-eared Hawkin thought he heard a nasty, slopping sound down there. Everyone listened, and everyone was listening still when it lumbered, slobbering into sight, and groping squeezed its gelatinous green immensity through the blocked doorway into the tainted outside air of that prison city of madness. Poor Johansen's handwriting almost gave out when he wrote this. Of the 6 men who never reached the ship, he thinks 2 perished of pure fright in that accursed instant. The thing cannot be described. There is no language for such abysmus of shrieking and immortal Lancy, such eldritch conjurations of all matter, force, and cosmic order. A mountain walked or stumbled. God, what wonder that across the earth great architect went mad, and poor Wilcox raved with fever in the telepathic instant. The thing of idols, the green sticky spawn of the stars, had awakened to claim his own. The stars were right again, and what an age-old cult had failed to do by design, a band of innocent sailors had done by accident. After vigintillions of years, not a clue how many that is, great Cthulhu was loose again, and raving for delight. 3 men were swept up by the flapping claws before anybody turned. God rest them. If there was any rest in the universe, they were Donovan, Garrer, and Angstrom. Parker slipped as the other 3 were plunged frenziedly over endless vistas of green crusted rock to the boat, and Johansen swears he was swallowed up by an angle of masonry which shouldn't have been there, an angle which was acute but behaved as if it was obtuse. So only Bryden and Johansen reached the boat and pulled desperately for the Alert as the mountainous monstrous flopped down the slime stone of hesitant floundering at the edge of the water. Yes, that's very interesting. Yep. And many thanks for the follow, Ryan. I do appreciate it. I apologize that I'm struggling so much. Dyslexia is a hell of a thing. Stream had not been suffered to go down eternally, despite the departure of all hands for the shore, and it was the work of only a few moments of feverish rushing up and down between wheel and engines to get the Alert underway. Slowly, amidst the distorted horrors of the indescribable scene, she began to churn the lethal waters, whilst on the masonry of the charred shore that was not of earth. The Titan thing from the stars slaved and gibbered like Polyphorm, cursing the fleeing ship of Odious. Then, bolder than the storied Cyclops, great Cthulhu slid greasily into the water and began to pursue, with vast wave-rising strokes of cosmic potency. Bryden looked back and went mad, laughing shrilly. I know what that's trying to say, but it doesn't look like it's spelled like that. As he kept on laughing at intervals till death found him one night, in the cabin whilst Johansen was wandering deliriously. But Johansen had not given out yet, knowing that the thing could surely overtake the Alert until steam was fully up. He resolved on a desperate chance, and setting the engine on full speed, ran lightning-like on deck and reversed the wheel. There was a mighty eddying and forming in the noisome brine, and as the steam mounted higher and higher, the brave Norwegian drove the vessel head-on against the pursuing jelly, which rose above the unclear froth, like the stern of the demon galleon. The awful squid head, with writhing feelers, came nearly up to the bowsprit of the sturdy yacht, but Johansen drove on relentlessly. There was a bursting as of an exploding bladder, a slushy nastiness as of the cloven sunfish, a stench as of 1,000 open graves, and a sound that chronicler would not put on paper. For an instant, the ship was befouled by an acrid and blinding green cloud, and then there were only venomous, seething astern, where, God in heaven, the scattered plasticity of the nameless sky spawn was nebulously recombining to its hateful original form, whilst its distance widened every second as the alert gained impetuous from the mountain steam. That was all. After that, Johansen only brooded over the idol in the cabin, and attended to a few matters of food for himself and laughing Manic by the side. He did not try to navigate after the first bold flight, for the reaction he had taken something out of his soul. Then come the storm of April 2nd, and a gathering of the clouds about the concussions. There is a scene of spectral whirling through liquid gulfs of infinity, and dizzying rides through reeling universes on a comet's tail, and the hysterical plunges from the pit of the moon, and from the moon back again to the pit, all livened by a Cashintington chorus, not a clue on that one, of the distorted, hilarious elder gods of the green, bat-winged mocking imps of Tartarus. Out of the dream came rescue, the vigilant, the Vice-Admiralty Court, the streets of Dundin, and the long voyage back home to the old house by the Eggberg. He could not tell. They would think him mad. He would write of what he knew before death came, but his wife must not guess. Death would come, be a boon, if only it could blot out the memories. That was the document I read, and now I have placed it in a tin box beside the bas-relief and the papers of Professor Angyle. With it shall go this record of mine, this test of my own sanity, wherein is pieced together that which I hope may never be pieced together again. I have looked upon all the universe has told me. Horror, and even skies of spring, and the flowers of summer must ever afterwards be poison to me. But I do not think my life will be long. As my uncle went, as poor Johansen went, so I shall go. I know too much, and the cult still lives. Cthulhu still lives, too, I suppose. Again in the chasm of stone, which has shielded him since the sun was young. His accursed city is sunken once more, for the Vigilant sailed over the spot after the April storm. But his ministers on earth, still below the prance, and slay around idol-capped monoliths in lonely places. He must have been trapped by the sinking whilst within his black abyss, or else the world would by now be screaming with fright and frenzy. Who knows the end? What has risen may sink, and what has sunk may rise. Loathsomeness waits, and dreams in the deep, and decay spreads over the trotting cities of man. A time will come, but I must not and cannot think. Let me pray that if I do not survive this manuscript, my executions may put caution before audacity, and see that it meets no other eye. Hello, my dear guitar, how are you doing? And the Angry Narwhal, how are you? Yeah, I struggled a lot with that, to be fair. Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to say hi, quick before I gotta head out into work. Enjoy your reading, brother. Many thanks, Narwhal. And I hope you have a wonderful day at work. Oh yeah, you can absolutely put nail art on the art section of the Discord. And if anyone wishes to join the Discord, I'm sure Phil quite happily put the command up. Because for some reason it doesn't work for normal people. Many thanks. I'm going to switch back to this for my sanity's sake, because I find it significantly easier to read. But we did, however, finish Cthulhu. The worst part is I'm very much considering myself, even though I didn't come up with it, the superior on being able to write about Cthulhu. And yes, I realize that's something that's obnoxious to say and downright idiocracy until proven. Yeah. I might actually have to do that. I mean, I appreciate the fact it's all written in a report style. It's findings and hearsay and warnings. But even so, I reckon it could have been done better. Oh well. Let's be honest, shit happens. Now we are back to... Oh, sorry. You should read The King in Yellow. Lovecraft-based, but actual story. If you throw that at me, I will very happily read it. Possibly next week, though. It does very much depend on the author, though, doesn't it? Some of them are rather difficult to actually read comfortably. Anyway. Mesmerism by Robert Browning. Remember that these are all roughly in the year of, I think, 1830. All I believed is true. I am able yet, all I want to get. By a method as strange as new, dare I trust the same to you. If at night when doors are shut, and the wood worm picks, and the death watch ticks, and the bar has a flag of smut, and a cat's in the water butt, and the socket floats and flares, and the house beams groan, and a foot unknown is surmised on the garret stairs, and the locks slip unaware, and the spider, to serve his ends, by a sudden thread, arms and legs outspread, on the table midst descends, comes to find God knows what friends. If since eve drew in, I say, I have sat and brought, so to speak, my thought to bear on the woman away, till I felt my hair turn grey, till I seemed to have and hold, in the vacancy, twixt the wall and me, from the hair plaits, chestnut gold, to the foot of its muslin fold. Have and hold, then and there, her from head to foot, breathing and mute, passive and yet aware, in the grasp of my steady stare. Hold and have, there and then, all her body and soul. That completes my whole. All the woman, add to man, in the clutch of my steady ken, having and holding till I imprint her fast on the void at last, as the sun does whom he will by the by the collectivist's skill. Then in my heart's strength serve, and though all the each of the veils I reach, to her soul and never swerve, knitting an iron nerve, commanding that to advance and infirm the shape which was made escape, and before my contentions, answers me glances for glance, I, still with the gesture fit of my hands that best do my soul's behest, pointing the powers from it, while myself do steadfast sit, steadfast and still the same, on my object bent, while the hands give vent to my ardor and my aim, and break into my flame, into very flame. Then I reach, I must believe, not her soul in vain, for to me again it reaches, and past retrieve is wound in the toils I weave, and most follow as I require, as befits a thrall, bringing flesh and all, essence and earth attire, to the source of the tresset fire. That's two. Come on, separate. There we go. Alright. Until the house called hers, not mine, with the growing weight, seems to suffocate, if she breaks not its laden line, and escapes from its close confine, out of doors into the night, on the maze of the wild wood's ways, not turning left to left nor right from the pathway, blind with sight, making throw rain and wind o'er the broken shrubs twixt the streams and stubs, with a still composed strange mind, not a care for the world behind, swifter and still more swift, as the crowding peace doth to joy increase, in the wide blind eyes uplift through the darkness and the drift, where to the shape, I too feel my soul dilate. Not a whit abate, and relax, not a gesture due, as I see my belief come true. For there have I drawn or no life to that lip. Do my fingers dip in the flame which again thy throw on the cheek that breaks at glow? Ha! Was the hair so first? What, unfilleted, made alive, and spread through the void with the rich outburst, chestnut gold inspired, like the doors of a casket shrine. See, on either side her two arms divide, till the heart betwixt makes sign, take me, for I am thine. Now, the door is hard, hark the stairs, and nearer, and here, now. And at call the third she enters without a word. On doth she march, and on to the fancied shape. It is past escape, herself now. The dream is done, and the shadows and she are one. First I will pray, do thou that ownest the soul, yet wilt grant control to another, nor disallow for a time, restrain me now. I admonish me while I may, not the squanderer guilt, since require thou wilt at my hand its price one day. What the price is, who can say? I very much enjoyed that. That was nice. I'm going to be a moment, though. I'm going to step away and get some tea. I highly recommend you all do the same. And I shall see you shortly. Gone for tea. Take your time, please. Make sure to stretch. Hello. I return. Let's shift this up away for a moment, because I'm fairly sure he's going to hop up. How is everybody? Not that way, I thought I did. He sees me downstairs and follows me. It's very sweet. In case you didn't have enough cat in your day, we have yet another interlude of cat-based vision. Many thanks, Alex. I reckon I will be continuing with more aged writings, as I find considerably easier. Obviously, once the cat allows us to read again. He's just loving the attention. Can I read to the people, please? Not yet. You good? Happy cat. As I'm not actually sure if I said, we did get his lump checked out, and it came back as, the vast majority of it was, I forget the word. Bother. Effectively a lump that just had fluid behind it, so it was drained by the vat. Cyst, thank you, yes. so he's less bothered by it now. He's still not happy if you fixate on it, though. Shall we continue with this, or is it? I'm not actually sure. Yeah, we'll stay with this for the day, I reckon. Would he be happier if I turned that light off? Is that better? Yeah. I swear half my day is trying to make that cat happy. And I do hope we all got nice drinks while we were away for that time. This is the Clove. And it's going to start off awkwardly. Hi-ho, yawned one day King Francis. Distance all value enhances. When a man's busy, why leisure strikes. Could you please not? I mean, that is true. So I thought he'd stay laid down for a little longer. He requires more attention, clearly. Are you okay? Yeah? He is quite happy, though, I will say that. Like, he's not a loud purrer, but he's a strong purrer. Alright, you good again? Cool. We were barely far in at all. Hi-ho, yawned one day King Francis. Distance all value enhances. When a man's busy, why leisure strikes him as wonderful pleasure. Faith, and at leisure once is he. Straight away he wants to be busy. Here we've got peace, and aghast I'm caught thinking war, the true pastime. Is there a reason in meter? Give us your speech, Master Peter. I who, if mortal dare say so, ne'er am a loss with my naso. Sire, I reply, joys prove cloudlets. Men are at the merest Ixions. Here the king whistled aloud. Let's hie go. Go look at our lions. Such are the sorrowful chances. If you talk fine of King Francis, and so to the courtyard proceeding, our company. Francis was leading, increased by the followers tenfold, before he arrived at the Penfold. Lords, ladies, like clouds with Bateson, at sternest the western horizon, and Sir Delore pressed. Mid the foremost, with the dame he professed to adore most. Oh, what a face! One by fits eyed her, and the horrible pits-eyed, for the penfold surrounding a hollow, which Jed where the eye scarce dared follow, and shelved to the chamber secluded, where blue beard and great lion brooded. The king hailed his keeper, an Arab as glossy and black as a scarab, and bade him make sport and at once stare up and out his den, the old monster. They opened a hole in the wire work across it and dropped their firework and fled. One's birds beating redoubled. Sorry, that was hearts. It's just got a slight join at the bottom. Sorry, one's heart beating redoubled, a pause while the pit's mouth was troubled, the blackness and silence so utter, by the fireworks slow sparkling and sputter, then each in a sudden contrarian gave out to our gaze her abortion, such a brute, where I freeze. No. I'm trying to go too quick and I'm tripping up. Where I friend Clement Mort, whose experience of nature's but narrow and was facilities moved in no small mist. When the versified David and psalmist, I should stand that brute to describe you, Elium, Jude, Lunium, Tribe. And that's why I want to know Latin, so I could translate that for you. One's whole blood grew curdling and creeping to see the black mane and vast and heapy. Yep. The tail in the air stiff and strained, the wide eyes nor waxing nor waning, as over the barrier with bounded his platform, and us who surrounded the barrier. They reached and they rested on the space that might stand him in best stead. For who knew, he thought, what the amazement, the eruption of clatter and blazement. And if in the minutes of wonder no outlet mid lightning and thunder lay broad, and his shackles all shivered, the lion at least was delivered. Aye, that was the open sky o'erhead, and you saw by the flash of his forehead, by the hope in his eyes wide and steady, he was leagues in the desert already, driving the flocks up the mountain, of cat-like couched-haired by the fountain, to wail in the date-gathering negress. So guarded the entrance of Egress. How the stands, quoth the king, we may well swear. So novice we've won our spurs elsewhere, and so can afford the confession. We excuse wholesome distraction in keeping aloft from the threshold. Once hold you those jaws, want no fresh hold. The first would too pleasantly purloin the visitor's briscus or sirloin. But whose he would prove so foolhardy? Not the best man of Margeman's party. The sentence no sooner was uttered than over the rails a glove fluttered, fell close to the line, and rested. The dame 'twas who flung it, and jested with love so, Delore had been wooing for months past. He sat there, pursuing his suit, weighing out with nonchalance. Fine speeches like gold from a balancing sound, the trumpet, no true knight's a terror. My God, there was no pause there. Delord made one leap at the barrier, walked straight to the glove, while the lion ne'er moved, kept his far-reaching eye on the palm tree-edged desert spring sapphire, and the musky oiled skin of the kaffir, picked it up, and as calm retreated, leaped back where the lady was seated, and full in the face of its owner flung the glove. Your heart's queen, you dethrone her? So should I, cried the king. 'Twas mere vanity. Not love set that task to humanity. Lords and ladies alike turned with loathing from such a proved wolf in sheep's clothing. Proved. Not so I, for I caught an expression in her brows understanded, self-possession, amid the court's scoffing and merriment, as if from no pleasure expecting, experiment. She rose, yet of pain not much headful, so long as the process was needful, as if she had tried in a crucible. To what speeches like gold were re-described. Yeah. And finding the finest prove, copper felt the smoke in her face was but proper. To know what she had not to trust to was worth all the ashes and dust too. She went out mid hooting and laughter. Clement Morter stayed, I followed after, and asked as a grace what it all meant, if she wished not the rushed deed's resealment. For I, so I spoke, am a poet. Human nature behoves that I know it. She told me, too long had I heard of the deed proved alone by word. For my love, what Delorge would not dare, with my scorn what Delorge could compare, and the endless deceptions of death he would brave when my lip formed a breath, I must reckon as braved or, of course, doubt his word, and moreover, perforce. For such gifts as no lady could spurn, must offer my love in return. When I looked on your lion, it brought all the dangers at once to my thought. That's the word. One moment. That is just encountered. My apologies. Encountered by all sorts of men before he was lodged in his den, from the poor slave whose club or bare hands dug the trap, set the snare on the sands, with no king and no court to applaud, by no shame should he shrink overawed. Yet to capture the creature made shift, that the rude boys might laugh at the gift, to the page who last leaped o'er the fence of the pit on no greater pretence than to get back the bonnet he dropped, lest his pay for a week should be stopped. So wiser I judged it to make me one trial what death for my sake really meant while the power was yet mine. Then I wait until time should define such a phrase not so simple as I, who took it meant just to die. The blow a glove gives is but weak. Does the mark yet discolour my cheek? But when the heart suffers a blow, will the pain pass so soon? Do you know? I looked as away she was sweeping, and saw a youth eagerly keeping as close as he dares to the doorway. No doubt that a noble should more weigh his life than befits a plebeian, and yet hand out brute, Benamian. I judge by a certain calm favour thee stepped with forward to serve her. He'd have scarce thought you did him the worst turn, if you whispered, friend, what you'd get first earn. And when shortly after, she cried her shame from the court, and they married. To that marriage some happiness more. The voice of the court I dared augur. For Delord he made woman with men via those in wonder and praise, and in envy, and in short stood so plain a head taller, that he wooed and won. How do you call her? The beauty that rose in the sequel to the king's love. Who loved her? A weak will. And 'twas noticed he never would honour Delord, who looked daggers upon her, with the easy commission of stretching his legs in the service, and fetching his wife from the chamber. Those staying sad gloves she was always mislaying, while the king took the closet to chat in. But of course this adventure came pat in, and never the king told the story, how bringing a glove brought such glory. But the wife smiled. His nerves are grown firmer. Mine he brings now, and utters no murmur. Vigneti occurret morbo. With which moral I drop my thearbo. Very intriguing. That sounds as though it was the trials, but not trials, at Rome. They were very fond of performing a show, especially with exotic animals such as lions. Though I never did hear of them retrieving articles of clothing to win favour. Though it does very much suit their mentality. I'll have to look into that, that's actually quite intriguing. Time's revenges. I've a friend over the sea. I like him, but he loves me. It all grew out of the books I write. They find such favor in his sight that he slaughters you with savage looks because you don't admire my books. He does himself through, and if some vein were to snap to nay in his heavy brain, tomorrow month, if I lived to try, round should I just turn quietly, or out of that bedclothes stretch my hand till I found him, come for his foreign land. To be my nurse in this poor place, and make my broth and wash my face, and light my fire, and all the while bear with his old good-humoured smile, that I told him better have kept away than come close and kill me night and day with worse than fever's throb and shoots, the cracking of his clumsy boots. I'm sure that this he would do, as that St. Paul is stricken too, and I think I had rather, woe is me, yes, rather see him than not see, if lifting a hand would seat him there before me in the empty chair. Tonight, when my head aches indeed, and I can neither think nor read, nor make these purple fingers hold the pen, this garret's freezing cold, and I've a lady there, he wakes, the laughing fiend, and prince of snakes within me. At her name to pray, fate send some creature in the way of my love for her, to be down-torn, up-thrust, and outward borne, so I might prove myself that sea of passion which I needs must be. Call my thoughts false, and my fancies quaint, to my style infirm, and its figures faint. All the critics say, and more blame yet, and not one agony word you get, but please you wonder I would put my cheek beneath that lady's foot rather than tremble under mine. The laurels of the Florentine, and you shall see how the devil spends a fire God gave for other ends. I tell you, I stride up and down this garret, crowned with love's best crown, and feasted with love's perfect feast, to think I kill for her, at least, body and soul and peace and fame, alike youth's and the manhood's aim. So in my spirit, as flesh with sin filled full, eaten out and in, with the face of her, the eyes of her, the lips, the little chin, the stir of shadow round her mouth, and she, I'll tell you, calmly would decree that I should roast at a slow fire, if that would compass her desire. and make one whom they invite to the famous ball tomorrow night. There may be heaven, there must be hell. Meantime, there is our earth here. Well, I enjoyed that one. And a nice little salute to you as well. Spicy pickled hot dog. Now that's a name. I hope you are well. We are reading some Robert Browning today. Poems written in around the 1800s. He was, I believe, brought up in an abbot. That's also aided to the fact that this is very clearly Bible paper. It's tremendous. I'm getting a lot more used to black tea, as in no milk. I've only got a touch of sugar this time. I'm trying to cut down. I realised that I was using much too much a while ago. Remember that only you control what you put into your body. I say that, the majority of you. I know that some people are on medication for very serious issues, and it is very good to listen to your doctor. I do not advise listening to people that have disputed knowledge, let's say. It's very, very carefully worded. The Italian in England. Ah, yes. He is English, he moved to Italy, he preferred Italy, and subsequently perished there at the end of his life. He actually lived quite a long life, the 1800s. I think it was, 60, 70 years? 1 to 60 years, 70 years, Jesus. The textbot is trying. That second time they hunted me, from hill to plain, from shore to sea, and Austria hounding far and wide her bloodhounds through the countryside. Breathed hot and intense on my trace, I made 6 days a hiding place on the dry, green old aqueduct, where I am Charles, when boys have plucked. The fire flies from the roof above, bright creeping the moss they love. How long it seems since Charles was lost. 6 days the soldier crossed the cross. The country in my very sight, and when that pearl ceased at night, the sky broke out in red dismay, with signal fires. Well, there I lay, close covered, all the races of my... Man, I really mucked up the pacing there. There I lay, close covered o'er the races, up the neck, in the farms and cress, thinking on Metternich. No. Thinking on Metternich. No, that has not come up right. Metternich, our friend, and Charles, miserable end, and much beside 2 days the third, hungry o'ercame me when I heard the peasants from the village go to work among the maize. You know, with us in Lombardy, they bring It's going to be one of those ones. They bring provisions packed on mules, a string with a little bell that cheer their task and cask, and board on every cask to keep the sun's heat from the wine. These I let pass in jingling line, and close on them their noisy crew, the peasants from the village too. For the very rear would troop their wives and sisters in a group to help, I knew. When these had passed, I threw my glove to strike the last, taking the chance she did not start, much less cry out, but stopped apart. One instant, rapidly glanced round, and saw me beckon from my ground. A wild bush grows that hides my crypt. She picked my glove up while she stripped a branch off, then rejoiced. The rest with that my glove lay in her breast. Then I drew breath. They disappeared. It was for Italy I feared. An hour, and she returned alone, exactly where my glove was thrown. Meanwhile came many thoughts on me, rested the hopes of Italy. I had devised a certain tale, which, when 'twas told her, could not fail. Pursued a peasant of its truth. Persuade. No, that is pursued, my apologies. I meant to cool a freak of youth, this hiding and giving hope of pay, and no temptation to betray. But when I saw that woman's face, its calm simplicity of grace, Arisley's own attitude in which she walked thus far and stood, planting each naked foot so firm, to crush the snake and spur the worm. At first sight of her eyes I said, I am the man upon whose head they fix the price, because I hate the Austrians over us. The state will give you gold, oh, gold so much, if you betray me to their clutch, and be your death, for aught I know, if once they find you saved their foe. Now, you must bring me food and drink, and also paper, pen, and ink, and carry safe what I shall write, to Paedas, which you'll reach at night. Before the Duomo shuts, go in, and wait till Tenbro begin. Walk to the third confessional, between the pillar and the wall, and kneel, whisper, whence comes peace? Say it a second time, then cease, and if the voice inside returns, from Christ and freedom, what concerns the cause of peace? For answer, slip my letter where you placed your lip. Then come back, happy we have done our mother's service. I, the son, as you, the daughter of our land. 3 mornings more she took her stand in the same place. With the same eyes, I was no surer of sunrise. Then of her coming we conferred. Of her own prospects, and I heard she had a lover, stout and tall. She said, then let her eyelids fall. He could do much, as if some doubt entered her heart, then passing out. She could not speak for others who had other thoughts. herself she knew. And so she brought me a drink and food. After 4 days, the scouts pursued another path. At last arrived the happy my Pardian friends contrived to furnish me. She brought the news. For the first time I could not choose but kiss her hand and lay my own upon her head. This faith was shown to Italy, our mother. She uses my hand and blesses thee. She followed down to the seashore. I left and never saw her more. How very long since I have thought concerning much less wished for aught beside the good of Italy, for which I live and mean to die. I never was in love, and since Charles proved false, nothing could convince my innermost heart. I had a friend, however. If I pleased to spend real wishes on myself, say 3, I know at least what one would be. I would grasp Metternich. No? Metternich. Very odd. Until I felt his red, wet throat distill. Holy. A posture check is a very good idea, thank you. Distill in blood through these 2 hands, and next, nor much for that am I perplexed. Charles, perjured traitor for his part, should die slow of a broken heart, under his new employers. Last, fair, what should I wish for fast? Do I grow old and out of strength, if I resolve to seek at length my father's house again? How scared they all would look, and unprepared. My brothers live in Austria's pay, disowned me long ago, men say, and all my early mates who used to praise me so, perhaps induced more than one early step of mine, are turning wise, while some open freedom grows license, some suspect haste breeds delay, and recollect, they always said, such premature beginnings never could endure. So, with the sullen all's for best, the land seems settling to its rest. I think, then, I should wish to stand this evening in that dear, lost land, over the sea, 1,000 miles, and know if yet that woman smiles. With that calm smile, some little farm she lives in there, no doubt. What harm? If I sat on the door-side bench, and while her spindle made a trench, fantastically in the dust. That is dust. Inquired of all her fortunes, just her children's ages, and their names, and what may be the husband's aims for each of them. I'd talk this out, and sit there for an hour about, and kiss her hand once more, and lay mine on her head, and go my way. So much for idle wishing. How it steals the time. To business now. That was actually very sweet. I like that one. and I hope you are all terribly well. And yes, I know I say that quite a lot. But if I did not, you would not know that I actually care. I mean, that is the main reason that I do these streams. Partially for my own head, to force myself to read, to try and improve my own abilities, but also give others a break, give others a look into World Forgotten. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Phil. I do appreciate that. No, I truly do give. Like. The worrying part is I care about other people's mental states more than I care about my own. Hence why I'm very reluctant to ever halt or pause, postpone, or otherwise delay a stream. Yes, indeed I do. I try to, at least. I just realized where I turned off that light. You can see my profile just there. The Italian in England, and this one is the Englishman in Italy. Piano di Sornet. Oh, this is going to be a fun one to read, he says with mock enthusiasm. For two, my beloved one, sit there by my side. On my knees, put up both little feet. I was sure if I tried. I will read that very shortly. Still, foot after foot, like a lady, so round after round, he climbed to the top of Calvorn, and God's own profound was above me, and round me the mountains, and under the sea. And within me my heart to bear witness what was and shall be. Oh, heaven and the terrible crystal! No rampart excludes your eye from the life to be lived. Terribly sorry. Your eye from the life to be lived in the blue solitudes. Oh, these mountains, their infinite movement, still moving with you. Forever some new head and breast of them thrust into view, to absorb the thunder you see it, if quickly you turn, and, before they escape you, surprise them. The grudge you should learn, how the soft plains they look on, lean over and love, they pretend. Cower beneath them, the flat sea, pine crunches, the wind fruit trees bend, in the myrtle leaves curled, shrink and shut, all the silent and grave. 'Tis the sensual and timorous body, beauty, so far but a slave. So I turned to the sea, and there slumbered, as greenly as ever, those isles of the Siren, your gala, no ages can sever. The three, nor enable their sister to join them. Halfway on the voyage, she looked at Ulysses no further today, though the small one just launched in the wave. Watches breast high and steady from under the rock. Her bold sister swum halfway already. Forth shall we sail there together, and see from the side quiet new rocks show their faces, new haunts where the sirens abide. Shall we sail round them, close over the rocks, though unseen, the ruffle, the grey glossy water, the glorious green, the scramble from splinter to splinter, reach land and explore. On the largest, the strange square block turret, with never a door, just a loop to admit the quick lizards, then stand there and hear the birds, quiet singing, that tells us what life is, so clear. The secret they sang to Ulysses when, ages ago, he heard and he knew the life secret. I heard and I knew. See, the sun breaks o'er Calvon. He strikes the great gloom and flutters it o'er the mountain summit in airy gold fume. All is over. Look out. See the gypsy. Our tinker and smith has arrived. Set up bellows and forge, and down squatted forthwith. To his hammering under the wall there, one eye keeps aloft the urchins that itch to be putting his Jew's harp to proof, while the other through locks of curled wire, is watching how sleek shines the hog come to share in the share the windfall. An abbot's own creek, all is over. Wake up and come out now, and down let us go, and see the fine things got in order at church for the show of the sacrament set forth this evening. Tomorrow's the feast of the Rosary's Virgin, by no means of virgins the least, as you'll hear in the offhand discourse, which all nature, no art, the demonation brother, these 3 weeks was getting by heart. Not a pillar, not a post, but a descend, with red and blue papers, all the roof waves with ribbons, each altar ablaze with long tapers, but the great masterpiece is the scaffold, rigged gloriously to hold all the fiddlers and fifers and drummers and trumpeters, bold, not afraid of billion nor arbor, who, when the priests heresy, horse, hares, that's a bizarre word, hares, will strike us up something that's brisk, for the feast's second course, and then will the flaxen wigged image be carried in pomp through the plain, while in gallant procession the priests main to stomp, and all round the glad church lie old bottles, with gunpowder stopped, which will be when the image re-enters, religiously propped. And at night, from the crest of Galvano, great bonfires will hang on the plain, will the trumpets join chorus, and more poppers bang, at all events come to the garden, as far as the wall, see the tap, with the hoe in the plaster, till out there shall fall a scorpion with wide angry nippers. Such trifles, you say, forth in the England at home. Men meet gravely today, and debate if abolishing corn laws by righteous and wise be righteous and wise. If 'twere proper scryor, no, Cicerco, no, Skirko. Yep, Skirko should vanish in black from the skies. Cicero. Of course it's Cicero. My apologies. Well, I usually tell my friends it's fine if you worry about me, because sorry about you, referring that he cares about me more than he does himself. And I am in the same situation. I think you need it to... It's very normal and very common, I find, to put other people's health before your own. I mean, again, that's one of the reasons I actually started this. Both the streaming, the reading, and building the little models, actually. Here's one that we built earlier. I do this very much for myself, but I do it for others as well. I mean, again, the reading, the models, that's very much to try and ground myself. But with what I do, I'm always trying to bring knowledge to people. I'm always trying to bring something, some way to escape, some way to not be in your own head. Because good God, I know how hard that can be. I said good God, not good girl, I saw that. I mean, I'm not exactly the most stable and sane person around. Good God, I know that. And I know that there's so many ways that people try to cope. I mean, I've got Steam open right now. I'm looking at games. That's one of the main ways that I do. But I've found that I'm just about the only person that seems to read a story on Twitch, read poetry, and just try and interact with people in that manner. I do this for the love of the subject, for the love of the material, and if someone doesn't do this kind of thing, as I say, it will die. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers or anything, but who knew about Robert Browning? He's incredibly famous, but no one knows him. And I don't say that as hyperbole. I mean, I know him because I searched out this kind of material. Anyone that's not deeply invested in literature has absolutely no reason to know, and that's a terrible shame. I'd like to try reading books on the stream as well, but I don't know if I should. I thought it was a story. Of course, no, it's poetry. Oh no, this is all very much poetry, and all poetry is a story. I'm not saying these are exclusively poems, I don't know. And let's put it this way, I am painfully dyslexic. You've heard me tripping over my words constantly, going back and correcting things. It's hard. Like, it's one of the things I am most insecure about. I mean, I say that. Don't have a face cam because I'm insecure about my surroundings. Yay. I appreciate that, thank you. But no, I would absolutely encourage you to, and if you do start doing that, do join the Discord that was thrown in the chat earlier. You can find it on my Twitch page, and I will, without any hesitation, be there. Regardless of the time, regardless of the hour. It's one of those things that, as I say, I know audiobooks are about. I've searched for poems, and the best you find is 3 verses. Not verses as in beating or fighting, verses as in stances, effectively. It makes it really seem like a human is reading them, and not a machine. Oh, absolutely, yes. I agree. I mean, Christ, again, one of the main reasons I'm doing this is people enjoy the sound of my voice. They find it relaxing, calming, and all of those wonderful properties. Which is actually why I'm trying to get into voice acting. And in time, I do hope to. Anyway, I reckon 1, maybe 2 more. Then I shall pass you off. Hang on, the cat's moved. I can turn this one back on. Ah, that's much better. In a gondola, he sings. I send my heart up to thee, all my heart, in this my singing. For the stars help me, and the sea bears part. The very night is clinging. Oh, right, it's one of those ones where it's compressed. Closer to Venice, streets, to leave one space above me, whence thy face may light my joyous heart to thee, its dwelling place. She speaks, say after me, and try to say my very words, as if each word came from you of your own accord, in your own voice, in your own way. This woman's heart and soul and brain are mine, as much as this gold chain she bids me wear, which, say again, I choose to make by cherishing a precious thing, or choose a fling over the boat side. Or choose to fling over the boat side, ring by ring, and yet once more say no word more. Since words are only words, give o'er, unless you call me all the same. familiarity by my pet name. Wait, sorry. Which if the three should hear you call, and me reply to, would proclaim at once our secret to them all. Ask of me, to command me, blame, do break down the partition wall twixt us. The daylight would behold, curtained in dusk, and splendid folds. What's left but all of me to take? I am the threes. What? I am the threes, prevent them. Slake your thirst. 'Tis said the Arab sage in procrastination. No. Practicing. That's practicing. Good Lord. Sorry. 'Tis said the Arab sage in practicing with their gems can lose their subtle spirit in their cruise, and leave but ashes. So, sweet mage, leave them my ashes, when they use sucks out my soul, thy heritage. He sings. Past we glide, and past, and past. What's the poor Agnes doing? Where they make the shutters fast. Grey Zenobia, just a wooing to his coach. The purchased bride, past we glide, and past, and past. Why's the Pessy palace flaring like a beacon to the blast? Guests by hundreds, not one caring if the dare host's neck where weird past we glide. Oh no, I'm well aware it's late. The moth's kiss first. Kiss me if you made believe. You were not sure this eve how my face, you flower, had pursued its petals up. So, here and there you brush it, till I grow aware who wants me, and wide open burst. The bees kiss now, kiss me if you entered gay my heart at some noonday, a bud that dares not disallow the claim. So all it rendered up, and passively it shuttered cup over your head to sleep I bow. He sings. What are we two? I am a Jew, and carry thee farther than friends can pursue, to a feast of our tribe, where they need three to bride, the devil that blast them unless he abide. Thy scatter the vision forever. And now, as of old, I am I, thou art thou. Say again what we are, the spirit of a star. I lure three above where the disdains bar. What? My plumes there fully play, till a redder ray. Then my pale one announces there is withering away. Some scatter the vision forever, and now as of old. I am I, thou art thou. He muses. Oh, which were best, to roam or rest, the land's lap or the water's breast, to sleep on yellow millet sheaves, or swim in lucid shallows, just eluding water lily leaves, an inch from death's black fingers thrust, to lock you whom release he must, which life wear best on summer eves. He speaks musing, lie back, could thou of mine improve you, thought of mine improve you. From this shoulder let thee spring a wing, from this another wing. Wings, not legs, and feet shall move you. Snow white must they spring to blend with your flesh, but I intend they shall deepen to the end, broader into burning gold, till both wings crescent-wise enfold your perfect self, from neither your feet to o'er your head, where lo, they meet as if a million sword blades hurled defiance from you to the world. Rescue me, thou, the only real, and scare away this mad ideal that came nor motions to depart. Thanks. Now stay, ever as thou art. And still he muses. What if the three should catch at least thy serenader, while there's cast Paul's cloak about my head, and fast gain pinions me? Himself has passed his stile through my back. I reel, and is it thou I feel? Thy trial me, these three godless knaves, past every church that sains and saves, nor stop till where the cold sea raves by Lido's wet accursed graves. Thy scoop mine, roll me in its brink, and on thy breast I sink. She replies, musing, dip your arm o'er the boat side, elbow deep, as I do, thus, where deeth so unlike. That's death. My word, I'm trying to read it too quick, I swear. Where death so unlike sleep, caught this way, death's to flee from flame. Flame or steel, or poison doubtless, but from water feel. Go find the bottom, would you stay me there? Yes, there were pauses each time, that was weird. Now pluck a great blade of that ribbon grass, to plait in where the foolish jewel was I flung away. Since you have praised my hair, 'tis proper to be choice in what I wear. He speaks. Row home? Must we row home too surely? No, I wear its front demurely over the guidess piled, window just with window mating, door on door, excitedly waiting. Ooh, you good, buddy? One second. He does this every now and then. He should be okay, but I just like to check on him. Yep. Yep, he's fine. He is well. That's where. When melting door and door, excitedly waiting. All's the set face of a child, but behold it wears a trace of the steadiness and resolve, and formal lines without a curve in the sane child's playing face. No, two windows look one way o'er the small sea, water thread below them. Ah, the autumn day, I, passing, saw you overhead. First, out a cloud of certain blue, then a sweet cry, and last came you, to catch your lorry, that must needs escape just then, of all times then, to peck at tall plants' fleecy seeds, and make me happiest of men. I scarce could breathe, to see you reach so far back o'er the balcony, to catch him ere he climbed too high above you in the Smyren peach, that quick at the round smith cord of gold. This coiled hair on the head unrolled, fell down you like the governor's gorgeous snake. The Roman girls were wont of old, when Rome there was, for coolness' sake, to let it lie curling o'er their bosoms, dear Laurie. May his brake retain ever its delicate rose stain, as if the wounded lotus blossom had marked their thief to known again. Stay longer yet, for others' sake than mine. What should your chamber do, with all its rarities that ache in silence while day lasts, but wake? At night time, and their life renew, suspended I just to pleasure you, that breathe against their will together these objects, and while day lasts weave around them such a magic tale that they look dumb, you half believe, with all the sensitive tight strings that dare not speak. Now itself breathes slumberously, as if some elf went in and out of Erz. His wings make murmur wheresoe'er they graze, as an angel may, between the maze of midnight palace pillars, on and on, to so God's plagues have gone through guilty, glorious Babylon. And when such murmurs flow, the nymph bends o'er the harp top from her shell, as the dry limpet from the lymph come with the tune he knows so well. And how your statues' hearts must swell, and how your pictures must descend to see each other, friend with friend. Oh, could you take them by surprise, you'd find You'd find Shindorn's eager duke during an quaintest courtesies to the prime saint of haste 3 Luke, and deep into her rock den, bold Castlefenios Magdalen, you'd find retreated from his ken of the robbed counsel-keeping Sir, as if 'tis Anne thinking of her, and is not, rather gravely bent on seeing for himself what toys are these his progeny invent, what little now the board employs, whereon he signed a document that got him murdered. Each enjoys its night so well, you cannot break the sport up. So, indeed, must make more stay with me for others' sake. She speaks. Tomorrow, if a harp strings, say, is used to tie the jasmine back that overfloods my room with sweets, contrive your Zeros somehow meets my Xanets. If the ribbon's black, the 3 are watching, keep away. Your gondola, let Xeris wreath a mesh of water weeds about its prow, as if the unaware had struck some key of Bridgefoot stairs, that I may throw a paper out, as you and he go underneath. There's Zanze's vigilant taper. Safe are we. Only 1 minute more tonight with me. Resume your past self of a month ago. Be you the hasteful gallant. I will be the lady with the colder breast than snow. Now bow you, as because, nor touch my hand more than I touch yours when I step to land, and say, all thanks, Sayora, heart to heart, and lips to lips. Yet once more ere we part, clasp me, and make me thine, as mine thou art. He is surprised and stubbed. It was ordained, my apologies, to be so sweet and best. comes now beneath thine eyes, and on thy breast. Still kiss me. Care not for the crowds, care only to put aside thy beauteous hair. My blood will hurt. The three I do not scorn. To death, because they never lived, but I have lived, indeed. And so, yet one more kiss can die. And next time we shall pick up with warning. Warning, not morning. It does not want to say warning. There it is. I thoroughly enjoy this author, I really do. It's tremendous. And I do hope that you all enjoyed your time with me today. I shall be moving you on to another. I'm not yet sure who. But if you are watching on Twitch, don't forget to follow. And I sincerely appreciate you. And if you are watching this, remember that it was live on Twitch last week. I say that because we upload all of our videos. I upload all of my videos onto YouTube for anyone that wishes to know. It's a nice way to hear stories without necessarily having to interact. And once more, should you wish, do feel free to join our Discord. Quick. Mute. Who do we have that is live that we like? And once more, Alex, many thanks. We have Dekibbed, we have Mira. We're most likely going with Mira. Gib does have Monster Hunter, but it's very much a different feeling. When I stream games, I raid games. When I stream something different, I raid more similar works. I will be sitting in his chat happily. But we shall be going elsewhere. As ever, I trust you had a wonderful time. And I hope that you do, indeed, spread nothing but love.